much. Fantastic. We're going to read ours later. Next one I want to ask you, what's a mainstream school? A few years back, somebody told me that, she was listening to someone talk, and the person said regular school. And she said, how can you say regular school? That's not like regular school. It's either it's a mainstream school or a special school. So what's a mainstream school?
Thanks. So a mainstream school is basically a school in which children that are typical are schooling alongside children with special needs.
Thank you very much. Next thing I will ask you, what's an inclusive unit? Let's try somebody else.
An inclusive unit is a center that is specially for the special needs children together with the regular children. So that means if for both the regular children and the special needs children to learn together and prepare.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Want to say something different?
Inclusive unit is where you have like two or more special needs children in a group of class.
All right, thank you very much. Inclusive. All right. So let me go straight into my definitions. We have quite a number here, but let me not ask everything. So the first one I will tell is special education. So the idea of special education is designed for children, for people, individuals actually, because it's not limited to children. So let me read it here. It says it refers to education that is designed to facilitate the learning of individuals who, for different reasons, require additional support and adaptive pedagogical methods in order to participate and meet learning objectives in an educational program. The idea is that it is designed to meet the needs of people who, for different reasons, they require some level of accommodation. Interestingly, special education is not limited to just, let's say, the blind, the deaf, or people with developmental disabilities, but the gifted and talented fall under special education. People who are out of school fall out. So we talk about Nigeria has a high rate of out of school children, right? Interestingly, special education is one of the ways to address this permit to say mayor. And then we have other things like let me see, what do I have that I can't mention? Of course, physical and health related problems. Someone, yesterday, the soda GM said something about people with sickle cell wanting to be part of the soda. And interesting, special education responds to that, to epilepsy, to sickle cell. Because sometimes, some people with these conditions, while they don't have a disability, they require some accommodations to ensure that they thrive in school. They are learning, they do not miss out the learning experience because of their health problems. All right, let's move on. Another definition I have here. Okay, awesome. This is great. Well, because we're looking at mainstream schools, we looked at what kind of conditions do we find are common in mainstream schools. While in some environments you will find those with physical disabilities, the ones that schools stumble on, they might not know that the child has this need until they're already in school. So we have some of them here like dyspraxia, dysgraphia, dyslexia, dyscalculia. They affect learning in different ways. Of course, ASD. We just have a list of them. So visual processing disorder and auditory processing disorder. There are other conditions, but today we're not talking about solutions. We're just giving examples of conditions that you will stumble on in your school, or you find parents come and say, my child has this need, but they can learn, and I want to bring them to your school. And how do you ensure that you can help them? I've written a book by some called Nikki, and she's a special educator as well. And she said something that while we might not even have, like, every school might not have children that are diagnosed with something, every teacher will come across children with special needs in their classroom, because at least dyslexia, they would say that you will find 1 in 6 if there are 15 children in your class, there might be 2 children with dyslexia in your class. So, mainstream school, let's move on. This refers, hello? Alright. So these are schools. So the person that defines mainstream school is right. The idea of a mainstream school is that it allows children, typically wealthy children, or children who do not have specific learning needs, and those who have learning needs to be in the same classroom. But here's what I want to take up. It supports their learning. It means that general education must benefit each child in the classroom. However, there's something around mainstream I'm not going to mention now until I get to one slide. Inclusion. Inclusion means that every child is learning in the same space. Every child is learning in the same, so there's no discrimination based on ability or disability. And then there's the same environment. Inclusive education, so this is the UNICEF definition. And why is this definition very important? Because the government in Nigeria inclusive, decided that they wanted to practice inclusive education. So they sat down and defined this and said an education system that includes all students, welcomes them, supports them to learn, whoever they are, and whatever their abilities or requirements. This means making sure that the teaching and the curriculum, school buildings, classrooms, play area, transport and toilets are appropriate for children at all levels. Because you might find children with cerebral palsy or people who have mobility needs, and your school support them effectively. And yes, it can, if you plan to, as we're going to get into that. No one should be excluded. Of course, I want to rush so we get to the question and answer very fast. This one is very important. It's called the least restrictive environment. When you hear the word environment, what comes to your mind? Surrounding, the space that you are in, right? An environment here, right? But the least restrictive environment is more than a space. It is a principle. It's a philosophy. It is a guiding principle that says that a child was to be in a space that to be with it as much as possible, as much as he can or she can, be in the same learning room with non-disabled peers. And the benefit of understanding the least restrictive environment is this. There is the most restrictive, which is that the child is completely segregated. Children with special needs will have they have special needs. So they have different needs. Some of them will cope with an all-day experience in a general classroom without being pulled out at all. Some may be pulled out at specific times for either one-on-one sessions or for an extra part of the curriculum, just to meet their needs. And the least restrictive means that while they have the experience with their peers, they are also ensuring that they are learning without being segregated. They are learning without being segregated. All right, very fast. So let's consider this. Now this is important. Please, can someone read this for me? The box with the multicolor. Also, who has said something?
Let's consider this. Let's consider this. Fair isn't fair. Everyone. Fair isn't.
Everyone.
Okay. Fair. Everyone getting the same thing. Fair is. Okay. Fair isn't everyone getting the same thing. Okay. Then the next one is fair is everyone getting what they need in their order to be successful.
Yes. So there's this image I saw many years ago. Who has seen this image before? Where you find the elephant, the fish, the monkey. I mean, mentioning animals I really like lion. Daddy has an animal lover. What's his favorite animal? Dogs. We had all of them lined up, and then there was an examiner that said, "This is how we are going to test these people's brilliance. Whoever can climb the tree." There was the fish also. Whoever will climb the tree is the is the best. Is that fair? But is that equal? Is that equality? Yes, that's equality. The same thing. Or I'm not tall. Or I'm wearing heels to give me some leverage. But despite my heels, if I was to climb this place, can I go? But somebody can just jump up and hit it and climb it and get over. I would need an extra leverage despite my heels. So fair isn't okay, all of you jump over. All of you stand here so that you can see. It's getting exactly what we need, and that's the essence of the inclusive unit. We're going to go into the next slide. Let me mention this. So inclusion versus mainstreaming. So originally, when mainstream schools started, it was still a bit of restrictive at that time. But the idea was, there was an assessment done. This child can cope only in a regular, can cope throughout the day in a regular classroom. But inclusion, the word inclusion actually means that every child has the experience of regular classroom, but we'll make sure we provide the support that each child needs. And interestingly, now, in this time, mainstream schools are now live by that inclusion idea where for you to actually say you are running a mainstream school, you are providing what each child needs to succeed in that classroom. I'm going to pass over the mic to Hannah.
Thank you very much. Yes, we move on quickly. Like we said, we want to make sure there's enough time for questions. So the inclusive unit in a mainstream school, we have various terminologies for an inclusive unit. Some of us call it special needs department. Some of us might already have that. We have special needs education department. We have learning support. Some of us call it learning support department. Additional learning needs department. So various terminologies, but we are all referring to the same thing. The inclusive unit, the members are your SEND coordinator. You need a coordinator if you are setting up an inclusive unit in your school. There must be somebody accountable that the head or the principal can just go to. This is what we're doing. So you need a coordinator, and then you have your special education teachers. And they could be doubling as your regular teachers and also trained as special education teachers. Or if you have enough, in terms of number, you have many children with special needs, you can have totally different teachers in charge of special needs, right? So in this unit, the members of the unit, you need a school counselor, because the children that you want to attend to have various needs. There is no one person in the system who can attend to all the different categories of needs. So you have your school counselor, you have your psychologist. If you don't have a resident psychologist, you need to network. You need to have somebody outside that you can call on when you have a case, you have a child. Please come, we have a case, and the psychologist will just come in. You can decide once, I don't know, in a month or twice in a month, because they are usually very busy and they can be quite pricey, isn't it? You can't afford to have a psychologist come in every week. So it could be once or twice in a month. And then you have your teachers, your subject teachers. Then you need professionals like us. You have your speech and language therapists. You know, these are people who are professionals, they are certified, they have gone through the discipline, they have learned, you know, these skills. You have the behavior consultant, you know, the behavior therapist, technician, the OT, occupational therapy, because the needs of our children, they are multifaceted. Yes. And yes, next slide, please. Yeah, and facilitators. Those are the ones that deal directly with the children. We call them facilitators. But behind the facilitators, you have all these people who are needed to work together to meet the need of each child. Each child. There is nothing like, that's what she was explaining. It's not Gogo Lushe. There is nobody here. Gogo Lushe. You need to understand each child and tailor programs, activities, learning to meet each child's need. So the primary role is to facilitate accommodations in the structure. How do we accommodate? How do we expand our services to support children with their various needs? So that is what the inclusive unit is focused on. And we want to have the same professionals who are working in partnership. We have heard a lot about collaboration, whole school, everybody is involved. So your same practitioner is working with, other members in the system. Number one, you are developing an IEP, individualized education plan, for each child. Each child on the spectrum, their needs are different. So it's nothing like 10 of them have one plan. Individualized education plan, and we need to provide individualized instruction. That is why being in the mainstream school does not suffice for the children. Their instruction must be tailored to meet their peculiar needs. Then, next slide, please. Yeah, I've done that. Also, your practitioner will help you to adapt your curriculum. For each child, you need to adapt the curriculum to meet the pace, the cognitive level, the ability, sensory needs of each child. So the curriculum in the mainstream school does not work for a child on the spectrum, or for a child who has Down syndrome, or for a child, with any special need. It needs to be adapted. And also, we organize remedial classes, supportive classes for the child, and also assessment. Just like in the mainstream, you have exams. Most children on the spectrum or special needs, they are unable to take the mainstream school examination. So we need to come up with other means of assessment suitable to each child's needs. So we collaborate with parents, with teachers, school administrators, and the facilitators. We work as a team to help each child. Now, phases of setting up. We want to set up an inclusive unit in a school. So you will need a consultant, or maybe you have somebody already certified who will be your coordinator. You need a consultant that all others will work together with. In the preparation phase, we are talking about developing policies. You must have a guideline of your practices in inclusion. So we come up with policies and we look at eligibility guidelines. Who are going to be the beneficiaries of the inclusive unit in your school? There must be, how do you determine who is to go to the inclusive unit? You must have eligibility guidelines. And your physical structure, your classrooms. How do you modify your classroom for special needs? What do we need to buy? What do we need to move around? So, your classroom, your structure, you might also need to employ professionals to help you deliver, the IEP, If you are unable to employ professionals, you can train. Look for passionate people already in your system. Teachers you can, entrust with this responsibility. You will identify one or two people who are passionate about children with special needs, or if you don't have that in the system, let us start with our supervisors. So you need to identify your supervisor, somebody who is going to run the program. If you are unable to employ at the beginning, then we are preparing the curriculum and we need awareness for both parents and children in the system. So you don't just go and open an inclusive unit. Parents and children, the whole system, all members of staff need to be informed. Now, the implementation stage, we're talking about students are assessed. You need assessment for the children. Okay, the teacher has come to you as the head of school or the owner of the school, and they are telling you, oh, there's this child in my class is not doing what everybody is doing. Maybe they'll tell you the child is slow, or they'll tell you this child will not sit down when everybody sits down, or they'll tell you this child is unable to write, or they tell you my mic is off, or they tell you that, whatever concerns the teacher has observed and they have brought to you, we still need to carry out assessment. And we find out what we can adjust. If you are starting an inclusive unit, you start by looking at what we can adjust. You don't need to go and build a new structure and call it our inclusive. If you can afford it, excellent. But for starters, we begin to make adjustments. How many classrooms do we have? Do we have redundant classes? Can we, if we have, like, say, 5 arms, can we reduce it to 4 arms and then create a classroom that we can now convert to our inclusive unit? So, and then the IEP, it means developing a program for each child. If you have 10 children who are children with special needs, you need 10 IEPs, okay? 1 for each child. So that's the implementation stage. And the IEP needs to be developed by the parent, the teacher, the doctor who does the diagnosis, absolutely everybody that the child has contact with, because we need as much information as possible. If you walk up to a doctor and you are ill and you don't tell the doctor the truth about what is going on in your body, who can tell me what's going to happen? It's a wrong diagnosis. So we need as much information as possible from the parent, from the class teacher, from the people in church, from the nanny, about the same child. And that helps us to come up with an IEP. Everybody, including the support staff. Now, the evaluation and sustenance phase, it includes multidisciplinary evaluation, okay? You have rendered services, maybe you have engaged an occupational therapist, you have engaged, the doctor came in, gave you a diagnosis. The doctor needs to come back after you have implemented your program, maybe in 3 months, in 6 months, and then check the child again, isn't it? We want to know, are we making progress? Or are we just beating about the bush? Are we really meeting the need of the child? Is there any improvement? So there must be assessment, even by the parents. Maybe at the onset, the parent tells you, my child throws tantrums, and the behavior therapist has worked with the child. After 3 months, 6 months, we need to come back and check ourselves. So what do you need? You need your trained SEN staff. If you want to open an inclusive unit, your trained SEN staff. So training is there, or you employ. Employment is expensive, but you can train. Then inclusive classrooms, like I have told us, you can look for a redundant room. Start by looking for a redundant room already in your system. Convert an empty room, or if you have 5 arms, reduce it to 4 arms, spread the children around, and you create a room that you can use as your inclusive unit. Then you need resource rooms, the materials that your therapists, your facilitators, your teachers are going to use. Same materials must be kept separately, so you have a resource room. And then you need access to people like us, specialists, speech therapists, the doctor, the psychologist. You need access to specialists who will join hands with you to work with the children. Then continuing professional development for everybody. All your trained hands, regularly you need to, they need to update on the knowledge acquired. So what are your goals? You want to become an inclusive school. You need to identify, why do I want to open an inclusive unit? Why? You need to think about that. Who is planning and driving the dream? You need a coordinator. It might be your vice principal, your deputy head, a supervisor, or just a very passionate and hardworking teacher. Then what is the available space? We have talked about that. Who will support you on your journey? You cannot do it alone. Who is going to help you launch this dream of becoming an inclusive unit? When do you want to start? Okay? So if we have our goals and we have answered all these questions, give yourself a date. Is it September 2024? Is it January 2025? Don't give, make sure they are smart goals, achievable. Okay? Now, action points. What are the things you need to do when the program starts? Policy formulation. With the professionals, what are the guiding policies for your inclusive unit? Eligibility guidelines. We need to actually come up with documents. Check tools. When we want to enlist a child, what are the things we need to look out for? Whole school awareness. We will help you. We can help you organize whole school awareness. We can come to your PTA meeting. We can come to your assembly briefly to talk to the children. We can come to your staff meeting and just give us 10 minutes to talk to the staff. So everybody in the system needs awareness. And then preparation of the room. What are the materials, the resources that ought to be in the inclusive unit? The materials that you need, we can help you identify them. And training, we've talked about that. Professional support in the development of a manual. We can help you come up with a manual that you will give your parents of children who are living with special needs. And also, we talked about adapting your curriculum for each child and access to specialists. We can link you up. This is a perfect place to network with professionals. I'm sure you know a lot of professionals are around today. You can quickly, break time, chat people up. Once you know that you are talking with a professional, collect their number and give them a call. Hey, we want to become an inclusive school. Can you come and help us? And you also need follow-up visits from your psychologist, from your therapist, from your speech therapist to come back and check the outcome of what you have put together. Yeah, before President one. Yeah, I just want you to have a look because you want to set up an inclusive unit. These are can you go back? This is an OT room. We call it occupational therapy room. You can see all that is there. Please don't be intimidated. You need to start with just 1 or 2 things. Eventually you get there. So every term, you can purchase items, and based on the need on ground for each child. So these are corners and rooms that should be in your inclusive unit. So while we are thinking of our questions, we were told that we need to be bold and disruptive. Can I have 10 people who are bold and disruptive? 10. 1. Count them for me. 10 who are bold and disruptive. What's the number? Once we have 10. Okay. There's someone behind you. 9. Okay. 10. 10 people who are bold and disruptive. Okay, take it round, Chooks. Just pick a piece of paper. You are sure you are bold and disruptive. Open it. People who are bold and disruptive. Where's number 1? Let me start. Can we just line up? Face, yes. Face everybody. Quickly, what does it say?
Well done, collect your reward.
Well done, collect your reward. Chooks, come and give her reward. Well done, collect your reward. You're bold, come back next year. Thank you.
Well done, collect your reward.
Well done, collect your reward.
Well done, collect your reward.
Well done, collect your reward. Thank you for coming, have a nice day. Thank you for coming, have a nice day. God loves you, try again. Well done, collect your reward. It's question and answer time. Oh, sorry. You are audacious. Come back next year. Let's clap for ourselves. Thank you. Yeah, so questions, please.
So what we're going to do now, we're going to take all the questions and then answer. And if you have done that before, we'll ask you to write it down. So let's take the number. So number 1, who else has questions? Number 2, 3, 4. Okay. So I want to mention something. So I hope you answer your question that inclusive unit is not one room a city. Inclusive units are those that provide the support for all the children.
Is the mic loud enough? Can we get?
Hello, I can project. I'm a teacher.
Yes, project your voice.
Thank you. Good morning, everybody. My name is Nancy. So I actually have 2 questions. I'm going to keep them very brief. So in my school, I work in an international school in Lekki. And we had somebody come in from England, like last month, to give us a lecture. And then she mentioned something, the term called adaptive teaching. And she said the implications of adaptive teaching will be that no more need for differentiation, no need for IEPs, and all those other structures that we've already laid in place. She's basically telling us that in England, they're about to do away with it. And I'm like, oh gosh, what are we going to do? Yes, okay, we've already, we're trying to understand these processes, and we are even seeing them having positive benefits to the children. And now somebody's coming and telling us, oh, okay, you have to change it, no need for IEPs, no need for differentiation. I'm wondering, okay, what will happen to the CENCOs, what will happen to the facilitators? What is that? Are we going to do away with that? What's the future, basically, of all of us here? And sorry, the second question, very briefly. It's about differentiation. We always have this argument at my school about differentiation. Teachers in year 6 are always saying, oh, they are going to write the same common entrance examination. So if you differentiate for them, how will this child be able to actually cope with those examinations? We also have this ideology, because what we do is, it depends on the needs of the child. There are some children that might need to write examinations that are quite different from the typical children. But now they're saying no, that if you have 10 questions, you can have 3 that everybody can answer, and then the remaining 7, those ones that can't, won't. And that's the form of differentiation that, that we are being taught. But it's going to affect our children with special needs and what we're doing there. Because for those other 7 questions, they've not been exposed to those topics. So how will they cope with those questions? Thank you.
Thank you. So I think next, so number 2 is here. We have very limited time. Let's go straight, but we have very limited time, so we can answer our questions.
Okay, mine is more of appreciation. I want to thank you for the program, and it's really an eye-opener. Like I said earlier, I am running a crèche, so I saw a need in a particular child. He was just at the time he came to the crèche, he was just 6 months. Now he's a year and above. And then I noticed something, and that was why I came to Patrick's speech, and that's why I'm here. So I really appreciate you. I'll see you later on. Thank you so much.
I'll be glad to. So one thing we must mention is that if we don't take a question here, you can always ask us, because we know that this question is something that answers to that. Okay, let me quickly ask, because she's number 3.
Good day, everyone. I work in a mainstream school. Okay, I work in a mainstream school. We have about 5 special children in the school. And this last term, the school just, during the exam, the first day, the school just pull out all the special children in their classes and put them in a different class with the same question with the regular children. And with the facilitators, we are not allowed to even move close to where they are. We're not supposed to see them until maybe after the exam. So my question is, are we not supposed to be carried along? Can we have a meeting with the head of school and question their decision? That's my question.
So we'll answer that. So let's take that. We have only about a minute. So
Sorry. Hello.
Then we'll answer. So we have more time to then take questions.
Thank you. You have people have that, because like when I'm trying to ask a question in the ministry, we have what we call inclusive policy, national policy on inclusive education. We also have special national policy on special need education. But we are trying to do our special need right now, because the main thing is that we are trying to make sure all schools are inclusive. Like what you are talking about, inclusive units. Like we have that one in our federal schools. We call it integrated unity schools. For example, Peace College, they admit students with visual impairment. Peace College, they admit students with visual impairment. They call them integrated because it's not all the unity schools that are sitting on. Yeah, that one also admits students with deaf, hearing impaired. Janiki admit with blind, hearing impaired, all those. What I'm trying to explain right now, like you are going back to inclusive units, the segments where they have been practicing for a long time.
All we have is, so this is a regular school, but we are talking about the department that supports the children. So that,
they are in
for
charge.
a child with special needs to thrive in a mainstream classroom, they need certain kind of support. So the inclusive unit helps to provide us. So the child is in the regular. I work in regular classrooms. I work in regular classrooms.
What I want to get, that's why when I saw the topic, I clicked, so that I'm able to bring it up in the ministry, really know the difference between, so that I never said
We are not separating. It is in a mainstream.
So these are children, and let me rush to answer about differentiation, and then I will talk about that. Now, there's what we call access arrangement in exams. Access arrangement helps to solve the problem of children. It helps as it were. It's a policy that helps as it were as much as it can to help students with special needs to thrive. Now, putting children in a different room is an access arrangement. And for integrity purpose, they would usually not put the facilitator that works with the child there. However, if the child requires support, IEP should have that, so that this child requires one-on-one support during exams. So a different person will be placed alongside with that child. So it's an access arrangement, but the person that carry it out the right way, well, it is a policy. So the children can be in one room where other professionals support them, not the person that works directly with the child. Also, differentiation of exams. So, while we can differentiate product, even assessment, sometimes some schools will require that, and some people, in order to prepare the children for final exams, they say, okay, let's differentiate them. In fact, differentiation for standard differentiation practice across education, when they say all children should be able to answer these questions. Some children, most children need to answer to this, and then some children, and that's the concept. However, I do agree that see, it's a journey. Inclusion and education of children with special needs is not a one-time event. It is not, oh, this term, it's not a sprint. It's a, you plan it, and you are planning from preschool all the way to the 6, all the way to secondary, and there's transition from age 21, or in Nigeria, you that age 18. So this is the idea of, so you, I'll come to you now. If you plan for yourself and say, okay, how do we differentiate exams, assessment to provide this child an opportunity to succeed? Then we can introduce, at a particular time, can introduce a general, as it were, question. However, 3 to 7 is too small. 3 to 7 is too small, because then you are making that child feel like I will fail. So what's the point? But you have a high percentage, and you begin to reduce. Now, what you are doing is that you are inspiring that child to push for more. But that has to be a plan. So this is case by case. You have to have a plan, and it doesn't happen one time. And this adaptation thing, I have to go and research it myself, because I'm currently in school and I haven't heard it yet.
Yes, I have heard, that differentiation should be done away with. But let's ask ourselves, as a team, with children on autism, Down syndrome, cerebral palsy, can you cancel differentiation? Is it possible? You cannot. Once you remove the concept of differentiation, you are no longer attending to children with special needs. It's automatic. So even if you bring a child to the mainstream school, which we support, you still need to develop an IEP for that child. Otherwise, the child will be lost.
No, like what you said,
she said they are canceling.
Yes, no, that's what I'm trying to explain. It's the same thing. Like when they come to you, when they always say, when they give us, when they're having a meeting, they will invite us. We are there. They will tell us we should go away with specialists. When you look at it, in Nigeria here, we still need special school. Yes. We are talking about inclusive right now, because when they come to them, they will tell the ministry there's no need for special school. But when we had for expert, all these professors, they said there's still need for special school. Canada still having some special school. But like last time, our last policy, national policy is 2012, while the 2017 was national policy on inclusive. But we have reviewed that of national policy on inclusive. But national policy on the special has not been reviewed. Because what we want to raise it, they said we should look down that one yet, because we are no more this ET is inclusive. What we are trying to do is just the same thing right now. They are trying to give us their own identity. Because that when you look at Nigeria, it's a peculiar thing. We have to work with what is happening.
No, we must attend to them. You have a question.
Hi, good morning everyone. Can everyone hear me? Yeah. So I just personally want to say what you guys are doing, every single person here, everything that you're doing is fantastic. I schooled in Nigeria 20 years ago, and there was nothing like special needs or inclusion or anything. Now, I have a son and he's autistic, and I've literally left the UK to come to Nigeria for schooling. I know some people may, especially when I was leaving, some people are like, what's in Nigeria that's not in UK? However, I just want to tell you guys what you're doing is fantastic, because since we've been here, I'm very shocked on how Nigeria has progressed. We're not there yet, but we're heading towards perfection. Now, I know the question the lady asked about the examination. All of you are advocates. I want you to remember that all of you are advocates for these children. You're not just there, obviously you're there to do a job to get paid, but you're not just there to be there. You're actually advocates. Now, we learned about the holistic of a child. You have the family, you have the community, you have education, you have the schooling. Now, if you feel like a child needs to be, if you feel like the segregation of a child during exams is not fair on them, that needs to be in the person's IEP. Sorry, in England we call it EHCP. So I'm still trying to learn the ways. You need to advocate for that child. You need to set up a meeting with the head of school, the classroom teachers that are there. You're literally advocating for that child with special needs. It's not just the parents that advocate. You need to sit down holistically and plan, okay, when this child has an exam, this child needs to be in a different classroom with questions to their understanding. For example, my son, if you ask him, oh, Hezekiah, what's an apple? He may not say an apple is red. He may say, apple, what color is it? Red. You know, it's the same answer. It's just in a different way. So I feel like everything you guys are doing, like I said, I know this is the first time I'm saying, it's fantastic. However, advocate for your child. If you feel like your child needs something, set up a meeting. Your IEP meeting, say it up with the teacher, say it up with the head of school. If you feel like your head of school is not, go to the person who owns whatever school you have. Because although I'm here, I'm so happy I've met Mrs. Adelola. Although I'm here, I'm also advocating for my son in school. So, for example, let me just give a quick example. I know because of time. My son's school doesn't have. My son loves swimming. Now I'm looking for a swimming coach in Nigeria, indoor, so that it's not overwhelming for him because of sensory issues and everything. But then something is telling me, why don't you go to his school and ask, can you do extra curriculum activities outside of the school? Yes. There are parents that are willing to pay for their child to go on a Saturday morning for schooling, for swimming in the school that they know that, okay, I'm going to school, but I'm going for swimming. So that's one of the ideas that I'm thinking. I'm advocating for my son because he enjoys swimming. It's extra curriculum activity. And if I flip it, if I had a normal child, whatever a normal child is, what would I do? I would go to the mainstream school or go to the school and say, do you have this facility because my child is interested in it? And everyone knows that any extracurricular activity for a child with special needs can help them in the future. So once again as well, I want to say, guys, you're doing a fantastic job. Keep doing what you're doing, and I'm going to hand the microphone back.